Welcome to Prime USA channel. I'm Juhi. In just a short time, we will bring you the most important events that directly impact your safety and everyday life. Today's bulletin is especially significant because President Trump has made some major announcements for American citizens. Here is today's first top story. News number one in Indiana today. Former President Donald Trump suffered a significant political setback when a key redistricting plan he strongly supported was officially blocked by senior Republican lawmakers in the state legislature. Trump reacted sharply, criticizing party leaders and saying, "I hope he loses," a remark that clearly underscores growing internal conflict within the GOP as it struggles to present a unified front. Local political analysts say this development could have broader implications for the Republican Party's election strategy going into 2026, as leaders reconsider district maps and voter outreach plans. Supporters of Trump expressed disappointment and frustration, while critics highlighted the decision as a sign of Republican leaders asserting independence from Trump's influence. The episode has quickly become one of the most talked about political developments in the state, drawing both national media attention and social media debate. News number two. The U.S. Senate today saw two major healthcare measures fail to secure enough votes, a result that could have wide-ranging effects on American families who rely on subsidized insurance. The first bill aimed to expand Affordable Care Act subsidies to make health insurance more affordable for lower-income individuals, while the second would have offered short-term premium relief to struggling policyholders. Democrats argued these proposals were critical to preventing medical debt and protecting vulnerable populations, but Republicans countered that the plans were too costly and would add to the federal budget deficit. Healthcare experts now warn that without these subsidies, insurance providers may raise premiums and tighten coverage, potentially forcing millions of Americans to reconsider their plans. The fallout from this legislative deadlock is expected to spark intense debate in both political and public health circles in the weeks ahead. News number three. In a high-profile legal decision that has captivated national attention, a federal court today ordered the release of Kilma Abrego Garcia from immigration detention, citing procedural and humanitarian factors in its ruling. The case, which has been closely watched by lawmakers, immigrant advocacy groups, and legal experts, highlights continuing tensions in U.S. immigration policy and enforcement procedures. Supporters of the decision described it as a triumph for due process and human rights, while critics raised concerns that similar rulings could weaken the Department of Homeland Security's ability to enforce immigration laws. The ruling is expected to fuel legislative debate on potential immigration reforms, with both sides preparing statements and strategies for future policy negotiations. Public response has been vocal, with demonstrations and online commentary reflecting deep national divisions on the topic. News number four. The administration has established a new military-style security zone along parts of California's southern border in an effort to curb unauthorized crossings and strengthen border enforcement. Officials from the Department of Homeland Security described the initiative as a targeted effort to disrupt smuggling networks and support law enforcement operations. But the move has sparked criticism from civil liberties groups and local leaders who argue it may infringe on residents' freedoms and disrupt everyday life. Debate over the policy has quickly spread beyond border towns, with national commentators weighing in on questions about the role of military forces in domestic security operations. Legal experts also caution that jurisdictional disputes between state and federal authorities could lead to court challenges in the near future. As enforcement increases in the region, residents and advocacy organizations are closely monitoring developments and preparing for further public hearings. News number five. The U.S. House of Representatives has approved a $900 billion defense authorization bill aimed at modernizing military capabilities, enhancing troop readiness, and funding new weapon systems for the coming fiscal year. Lawmakers in favor of the package argue that robust defense spending is essential to counter global threats and support America's strategic interests overseas, especially in areas of technological competition and alliance strengthening. However, critics of the measure argue that such an extensive allocation diverts critical resources from domestic needs like education, healthcare, and infrastructure, areas where many families say they are struggling. The bill must still be reconciled with the Senate's version before it becomes law, but today's House vote signals broad congressional support for maintaining a strong defense posture. Policy analysts say the debate over funding priorities will continue to be a central theme in upcoming legislative sessions. News number 6. The U.S. Federal Reserve delivered its third consecutive interest rate cut on Wednesday, reducing its key benchmark rate by 25 basis points to a range of 3.50% to 3.75%, as the central bank seeks to balance inflation concerns with a softening labor market and weakened economic data. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell acknowledged that the economy remains very unusual, noting continued elevated inflation alongside mounting risks to employment, and emphasized that future policy decisions will depend on incoming economic indicators. The rate cut is aimed at supporting economic stability as markets and businesses anticipate 2026's outlook, with many investors closely watching how the Fed navigates the complex mix of inflation, tariffs, and consumer spending pressure.